Here we go, baby! Welcome to Bubblegun's first deck explanation. This is a deck that I sort of originally came up with when I started playing Gwent. A lot of the cards have changed a little bit. The deck sort of evolved as I've gotten better cards, seen people do different things online that I thought were pretty cool and wanted to replicate. I don't think I've straight out copied anybody else's deck though. I've just sort of made my own improvements where I thought things could be improved. So I'll just quickly go through the deck and then play a couple of games and show you all the sort of strengths and weaknesses of this deck. So the first card is leader card, of course. So we want to use Bran with 3 cards that sort of come back. So he strengthens each card by 1 when you discard them. I often use this card almost first card, or probably top 3 at least. So Cerys, you're always going to want to put Cerys back in the graveyard. Gives her 1 more strength, so hopefully you can bring her back once or twice in the game. Turns out into a pretty good points play. Morkvarg, one of my favourite cards, just got great voice animation. He sort of comes out of the graveyard when he goes back in and gets weakened by half. So you get 3 resurrections out of him at least, which is great for bringing Cerys back. And Olgierd is almost the same as Morkvarg. He just comes back at the start of each round rather than every time he enters the graveyard. Slightly different, but almost the same card. So my gold cards, obviously I just talked about Cerys already, but Wild Boar of the Sea is just a really good card to use with the Longship Greatsword combo that this deck is sort of based around. The Longship strengthens on the left by 1 and then damages to the right, so you want to put it in between a Longship on the left and a Greatsword on the right. So it's damaging the Greatsword and strengthening the Longship, as well as the Longship boosting off the Wild Boar of the Sea, because it also has 5 armor, so it will take up to 5 hits before it actually starts getting damaged by the Longship. Then you can bring those Longships back in the later rounds and they'll be strengthened, or one of them will be strengthened, which is nice to have. Instead of coming back as a 7, it might come back as a 10 or somewhere around there. Burner Brand's a good control card. When someone starts stacking up 1 row, you hit it with this. It does up to 4 damage a turn, basically. It's pretty good. Coral, another control card, just whack it on their highest boosted unit or a high priority target, really. Blue Boy Lugos, another control card. Very good against decks that just stack cards on rows. People often overreact to the Spectral Whale as well and might even use a card to kill it, which in my opinion is fine most of the time, because then they've used a card to solely kill the whale, and I've played a 9, so I've come out ahead 9. Champion of Hov is another control card, specifically in this deck for the Imlerith tactic. I hate that card. I don't have anything to deal with it apart from this, really. So yeah, he can kill that or another high priority target. It's just another resurrection card. Sigdrifa, I don't know how to pronounce that. Azur's Double Cross pulls out either Blue Boy Lugos or Savage Bear. It strengthens them by 2. This is a good card just to play at the start of the round to soak up an enemy spell. Or if you don't deal with it, it's just going to do 1 damage to you every round pretty much, so it can end up pretty good points play if you use it correctly. These are my bread and butter. You want to get, if you don't draw any of these at the start of the round, you're pretty screwed. It's difficult to win without Greatswords with this deck, but because I've got 3 of them in my deck, I often will draw at least 1. The Oncrate Whale is sort of another control card. I just sort of have it in there to give me an option sometimes if I need to kill something or move something. These combo really well with the Greatswords. You just whack 1 to the left of a Greatsword, it constantly damages the Greatsword, boosts itself, and then strengthens the Greatsword. I want to try and play my Greatswords pretty early so I can get them strengthened up for the 2nd and 3rd round. These are just in here to bring back the Longships, hopefully strengthened from the Wild Boar of the Sea. It's a good card to have, just it's a bit of a boost for my units. I use it with this Petrie's Filter, which is a if I've got 6 allies on the field, or 5 with the Haymay Protector, then that's a 14 point play. Haymay Spear Maiden is just to bring out another Greatsword. You can also use it to bring out another light longship, but I almost exclusively use it with Greatswords just because of the synergy with the damaging and then the strengthening of the Greatswords. This is to bring back either the light longships, bring out either the light longships or bring out the Diamond Corsairs, which then bring back the light longships. And then, of course, 3 Priestesses of Freya, all my resurrection cards, just to bring back on-crate Greatswords. You don't really want... I'm a bit unsure about whether I should have 3 of these in my deck or just 2. But I've been rolling with 3 and I normally will just chuck 1 out if I've got 3 in my hand. It hasn't been too big a problem so far. So that's the deck explanation. If you guys have any advice or comments on it, I'd love to hear it.